Alrighty, it is 9-1. If you're watching this, we might be in the middle of the coronavirus. And if this is in the future, hey, we survived the coronavirus. I'm Miss Billman, and I'm glad you are here. So this begins Unit 9, and Unit 9 talks a lot about positive and negative numbers. We'll read this situation where we have real-world scenarios or situations that involve numbers less than 0. If I was writing this, I could write n, the number, and be less than 0. So for example, the thermometer activity you completed in class or maybe at home involved some temperatures less than 0. So we're going to write the opposite of these situations. So 3,000 feet above sea level would be 3,000 feet below sea level, which totally happens. For number 2, we have $45 in a savings account withdrawal. So some people, every time I've taught this, they've thought it was 45 checking account. That's not the opposite, but if you take money, you'd be depositing it, would be the opposite. So $45 savings account deposit, which again would be the opposite. Number 3 is 9 positive electrical charges. So if I started looking back to numbers 1 and 2, I'm looking for those words that are my opposite. So above, withdrawal, in this case it's positive. So 9 negative electrical charges. In all of these 1 through 5, there's going to be a word that it's the mathematical one that we're looking for the opposite. And again, number 4, it has deposit. So the $488 checking account deposit, the opposite would be a withdrawal, not savings account. I mean, they might feel like opposites, right? But we really got to be keen with our eyes and look to see which word we're really picking for this. So 1 foot below sea level would become 1 foot above sea level. Very cool. For number 6, we have the solar panels, which super cool. I really want solar panels on my own house. I think that's awesome. The solar panels on Jordan's home generate, so they produce electricity. During the month of August, the Jordan family used 570 kilowatt hours of electricity. If their electricity bill for August was $0, what amount of electricity did they generate that month? So now I'm thinking. The bill was $0. The amount of energy that they used was 570 hours of electricity. So therefore I'm thinking that they must have generated enough to cover their 570 because they didn't pay anything, right? So they must have generated 570 kilowatt hours, and they used the 570, so they didn't owe any money, but they didn't get any money back. For number 7 through 13, we're going to be looking at the thermometer on the right, and we will write the temperature that it is, and we will write the opposite temperature. Things to keep in mind. There are dashes in between here. Those are counted by 2s. Number 10, obviously, is at 0, and to go to number 7, we see the 10, and we count 10, 12, 14, 16, so 16 degrees Fahrenheit above 0, so the opposite would be 16 degrees Fahrenheit below 0. Fahrenheit, Celsius, if you were to put the opposite as 16 degrees Celsius, unfortunately you would be incorrect, but I like where your thinking is going. So number 8 is interesting that it's 8 degrees Fahrenheit above 0, and then 8 degrees Fahrenheit below 0. That would be the opposite. Number 9, I can count by 2s, so there's 2 and 4. So it's 4 degrees Fahrenheit above 0, and then 4 degrees Fahrenheit below 0 would be the opposite. It is super important that you're including the label of Fahrenheit, because you could say 7 degrees above 0. Well, is that Celsius? Fahrenheit? What are we talking? So we're being as specific as possible. Number 10 is 0, which is very exciting because you'll see me write 0 degrees Fahrenheit, and then I get kind of like, it's at 0. So the opposite is 0. Like, there's no way I could write an opposite for that. Number 11, this one was we're going to below 0. So there's the same dashes. So I'm kind of making a note to myself that the numbers above in a vertical number line would be positive, the numbers below would be negative. So number 11 is at -4, or I could write 4 degrees Fahrenheit below 0, the opposite being 4 degrees Fahrenheit above 0. Now, you'll notice I wrote -4 degrees Fahrenheit above 0. You can't really have that, but please just note that it really should say 4 degrees Fahrenheit above 0. Number 12 is 12 degrees Fahrenheit below 0. The opposite would be 12 degrees Fahrenheit above 0. Again, going from the negative to positive, or above positive to negative, we'll see what happens when you have two number lines layered, so a vertical and a horizontal, because the numbers above the 0, those are positive, the numbers below are negative, and the numbers to the right of 0 are positive, and the numbers to the left of 0 are negative. Number 13 is 18 degrees Fahrenheit below 0, and 18 degrees Fahrenheit above 0 for the opposite. Well, I'm glad you could join me, and these are totally things that we will encounter in everyday life, so it's important that you know that too. It's going to be a wild ride for Unit 9, and I'm excited you're here.